left the Great Plains and moved west, mainly to California. And as you can see, Oklahoma, Kansas, it actually extends even further than this. It extends over here. This map is kind of conservative in the way it goes about it because Arkansas even felt some of it, felt some of the Dust Bowl, not hard. But by the way, Arkansas, in case you're wondering what our beloved state was doing during the Great Depression, there was no roaring 20s for Arkansas. We were poor all the way throughout. Mid-20s, though, you have what's called the boll weevil hits the state. Anyone know what a boll weevil is? A boll weevil is an insect, though, that feeds on the fibers of cotton. That it would infest these cotton patches, though, and eats up all that fiber. And exactly. Arkansas's main crop during this time is cotton, and it basically sends the state into a depression in the mid-20s. We don't have a roaring 20s. We don't have this time of partying and everything else. Arkansas has a Great Depression that lasts about 20 years. Because what would happen though is you have drought, flood, drought, boll weevil. 4 consecutive years. That's what happens to the agriculture in the state. You have a major drought, you had a major flood, and then you had another major drought, and then you had the boll weevil hit. And so Arkansas never does get a roaring 20s period though. It's just depression all the way throughout. Now, many of these people who moved west not treated kindly. And they're referred to as Arkies and Okies, because more likely they were from Arkansas or Oklahoma that moved west.
Okies make me think of the Upland Athletics.
Yeah. But you're going to get out there, and what's even crazier though is I've met a few people from California, and they say even if you drive, L.A., you've got guys, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, you've got all like Tupac, the birth of gangster rap, you've got Hollywood, you've got all this other stuff, but they say you drive 20 minutes outside of Los Angeles once you get past the suburbs, and all of a sudden it turns into pickup trucks, hunting rifles, cowboys, honky-tonks, and it's these Arkies and these Okies that have moved out here. They move into the San Bernardino Valley, where all of the crops and stuff are grown in California, and they settle there, and they bring their culture with them. They bring this rural country culture with them, and now their descendants are still living this very country lifestyle because of their ancestors that came from Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas. They come out there looking for jobs and looking for work. And when you read of Mice and Men, you're going to notice that the two main characters are more than likely Arkies and Okies, that they are these migrant workers that have worked their way west looking for jobs. So just keep that in mind. All right. Now, what does this picture, this is one of the most famous pictures from the Great Depression, what does this picture tell you about the Dust Bowl and the Depression in general? Just look at this picture. Just look at it for a little bit. And I want you to tell me, what do you see?
Sadness.
All right. Haley, what do you mean by sadness? Who looks sad?
Well, you got the babies on the mama's shoulders.
Okay.
They're just laying there, and then you got the mom. She's just looks like she's lost all hope and everything.
Okay. That's a very good point. Sadness, I like how you said losing all hope, because that's really kind of the case.
They're dirty looking.
Poverty, because their clothes is like patchwork.
All right, poverty. You see that there's patches on their clothes. You see that sometimes, you see along the sleeve here how it's just been ripped up. You see the blanket has been moth-eaten. You see the dirt and the grime. You see this. Also, what else do you see on the mother's face?
Wrinkles.
Wrinkles. How do you think this lady is?
Stress.
She don't look. She
20,
can't be real. She
29,
got little
35.
boys.
All right. Real quick, I got 3 people talking. Alec, what did you say?
I said 29 to 35.
All right. Knowing what we know about during this time, that most women were married in their late teens and had kids by their early 20s.
Can't be that old.
She
Boys
can't-
look like they're about 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
around
So she should be probably in her mid-20s. But how old does she look in that picture?
45.
Probably in her 40s. I would say she looks like she's in her late 30s, in her 40s. And she shouldn't look like that. She shouldn't look like that. But it's taking a toll. It's taking a toll. And when I look at that picture, I just see worry. She has no idea what the future's going to hold. You can just tell it. She has no idea what she's going to do. She has no idea what's going to happen. And this picture is probably the most famous picture that comes out of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. And we see this, though, that we see the Depression. We see the loss of hope. We see all these different things that people don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They're looking for an answer. Now, I'm not going to cover it in this presentation because you get into a lot of politics. But in the early Depression, this is the way it is. In the later Depression, you have the government trying to help. You have Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, who basically, he doesn't sit far off. He doesn't sit way off and hopes the economy gets better. He takes an active role inside. As a matter of fact, he does what he calls his fireside chats. Is that a lot of families in the United States during this time, they have radios. And radios are your only form of entertainment. You don't have TVs, you don't have anything else. A lot of people would sit around as a family after dinner and they'd listen to the radio. And FDR comes on the radio every week. And he treats it like he is sitting beside a fireplace with you, and that's the way he talks. He doesn't talk like he's a president giving you a speech. He doesn't talk like he is someone that's better than you, talking down to you. But FDR sits and he basically says, I know that the country has problems, but this is what we're doing. He would share success stories. He would share things that the government was doing, new programs the government was putting into place, trying to help. And you know what? A bunch of his programs failed miserably. But you know what? People took hope in the fact that, guess what? Someone out there is doing something about this. Someone is taking action. Someone is doing what needs to be done. You have FDR, he founds the Federal Work Program, the WPA, which is one of these things he founds, and they build a lot of bridges. As a matter of fact, several of the bridges that you'll see on the outskirts of Tuckerman and Swifton and Grubbs are built by the WPA. If you look closely, though, like on their girders and stuff like that, you can find the WPA stamp, where people from around this area were given a job to build a bridge. And oftentimes there wouldn't even need to be a bridge. No one crossed this creek or needed this bridge that bad. But you know what? It put people to work. It put people to work. And that's what people wanted to do. I don't care if I'm not making a whole lot of money. At least I'm going to work. Down in Florida, the bridge that connects Florida to the Florida Keys, that really long bridge, they started work on that during the Great Depression. So it would give people jobs, and people would sign up and they would ship them down to Florida, and they would stay there for 6 to 8 months at a time and come back home. And you would mail money back home to keep your family alive. Yes?
And why, I mean, if people were going through Great Britain, I wouldn't be sending money for the mail people and try to steal it.
Well, I mean, they would do it like through Western Union or something like that, though, where it was a secure, not like they're mailing it in an envelope, though, but like they're sending it by like Western Union or some other thing like that, though, where they can get the money securely to them. Sorry.
My
yes.
dad told me when he was cleaning out his grandma's house back like in the 90s.
Yeah.
He said he was in there cleaning it and the walls were covered in newspapers because insulation.
Yeah.
He said there was pictures on the wall and mattresses, and when they moved everyone, their money fell out.
Yeah.
He said they hid money and they just...
Yeah.
He said there was like 19, 20 posters on the wall, like newspapers, and said it was weird.
Yeah. You know, you use newspaper because that was the only thing that was around to use for insulation. You hid that money, and that culture really drives forward a lot of issues, though, because they kind of say, well, the economy didn't do that great of a job of us, but the government did. And you see a lot of people that kind of adore FDR because of that. To drive crop prices back up, he actually come in and destroyed several fields worth of crops. Like he would pay you to grow a crop and then destroy it. And the reason why was this, though, is that people were producing things like beans and carrots and stuff like that because they're easier to grow. And they go, we don't need beans and carrots. We got enough beans and carrots as it is. We need other stuff. We need corn. We need things along those lines. And so we're going to give you money to plant what you can plant and then destroy it. Because we've got to drive prices up so we get the stock market going. And so some of the stuff he did wasn't just helping people work. He was trying to help the economy, boost the economy. And so some people hated him for it. Because why are you sitting there and like they would kill pigs and horses and cows, though, because guess what? Prices are too low. We got to drive prices back up. The stock market's got to get going.
I mean, if you're going to kill it, why didn't you eat it after it was dead?
Well, I mean, they did. They would ship some of the meat off and use it for like the soup kitchens and stuff like that. But I mean, you're talking about across the country. It just was too much. They're trying to get the prices up for stuff because things had just bottomed out.
Whatever he did was working, so.
Well, one of the things that does pull us out of the Great Depression is World War II. Is that when you're in a war economy and people are producing stuff like crazy, it does help pull us out. And that's the reason why, because of the stuff he did, FDR is able to stay in office for 3 complete terms. And he's elected to a 4th term. He's like a month into it. And then he has a brain aneurysm and passes away.